One day and one big turnaround. Vendors seem to have resolved their differences. The Hawkesbill Creek Agreement gets an extension. What does it mean for the economy? And it's day one of our special report on outreach in the urban communities. It's a special three-part series of hope that you'll see on just one station. The Bahamas Tonight, the National Report, starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
The government putting measures in place to revive the economy of Grand Bahama and restore the Magic City. This as authorities conclude arrangements in the Hawkesbill Creek Agreement. Good evening, everyone. I'm Keishla Adderley.
And I'm Charisma Robinson. Janelle Ferguson tells us as parliamentarians debate a bill extending concessions in the agreement, the country's leader says this move will lead to sustained long-term growth and prosperity for Grand Bahama.
We believe, Mr. Speaker, that we have the opportunity to transform the economy of Grand Bahama, Mr. Speaker, not just Freeport, but to transform the economy of Grand Bahama.
Prime Minister Perry Christie expressed profound optimism for the nation's second city as certain concessions under the Hawkesbill Creek Agreement are being reviewed. One of the recommendations is to secure an international investor to purchase the majority of shares in the Grand Bahama Port Authority.
The government is fully aware and fully committed to the recognition that we need new blood in Freeport. We need new leadership in Freeport. And the government is dedicated, Mr. Speaker, to bringing that about.
But as new leadership is being considered for the Port Authority, Central Grand Bahama MP Nico Grant said the government should proceed with caution.
Anybody who's been an executive in a meaningful role in the past that has led to Freeport being where it is should not be a part of the new investment group.
Grant disclosed that this precursor should be included as past investors have not had the best interests of Grand Bahamians. A new leadership of the port will undoubtedly reshape the economic landscape for Grand Bahama that Mr. Christie says has been suffering for quite some time. He announced several projects in the pipeline for the nation's second city, including a new cruise port, new investments in West End, the modernization of the airport, and expansion of the Freeport container port. He recently met with MSC executives in Geneva, Switzerland, about a project that will create training opportunities for young Bahamians.
MSC, which is already contributing significantly to the Freeport economy, is moving ahead quickly to create a one-of-a-kind cruise port at Ocean Key, Mr. Speaker, which will employ over 200 Bahamians. Mr. Speaker, it will clean up what is now a derelict dump and turn the island and its surroundings into an environmentally sound and pleasant resort, which environmentalists should applaud.
While Grant noted that government is late again in extending the extension that expired on February 4th, he said as the recommendations are being considered, he hopes a far better deal is being negotiated.
Something drastic must be done expeditiously to resuscitate the dream of the founder of the nation's second city. Freeport has just about lost its second city status. We cannot allow it to shiver and die.
Janelle Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
Well, the Prime Minister also gave details on talks held last week in Geneva, Switzerland, with executives of the Mediterranean shipping company MSC. In addition to establishing a new tourism destination at Ocean Key, Prime Minister Christie said there will be training opportunities for Bahamians.
MSC has agreed with the Bahamas government to create a new model in cruise ship, these small island destinations that cruise ships have, whether it's Disney, whether it's Carnival. They have agreed, Mr. Speaker, not to take their crew and allow their crew to service the people on the island, but to employ, Mr. Speaker, up to 200 young Bahamians as Bahamians, Mr. Speaker, on that island, and they propose, Mr. Speaker, in the month of March to put shovel in the ground.
There's no plans for Port Dock whatsoever.
Well, what a difference a day makes. Yesterday, vendors at the Port Dock were protesting, calling on agriculture and fisheries officials to get things right.
But on Wednesday, all parties involved were sitting around the table, and now they say the matter is resolved. Carla Palmer has the details on the initial dispute and the subsequent meeting that led to the turnaround.
This was the scene at the Port Dock on Tuesday. Though peaceful, fruit and vegetable vendors were still vocal in their concerns. Concerns that they are to be removed from their location under the bridge at the dock, never to return to that area. That's the information President of the Fish, Fruit and Vegetable Vendors Association at the Port Dock, Mrs. Ominique Bowe, tells ZNS News.
A week ago, I got a call from the government asking me to attend a meeting pertaining of removal of the produce vendors, and they have absolutely nowhere to put them. I think the way they're doing it is deplorable, and we need some answers. There's no plans for Port Dock whatsoever.
That was yesterday. Fast forward to today. Whether miscommunication or misunderstanding, parties involved chose not to belabor the issue, except to say,
yesterday, when I was on TV, I said they had absolutely no plans for Port Dock. I'm taking that back today and say the plans is here, the plans is on the table. I can go back on Port Dock and let my vendors know that the Honorable V. Alfred Gray has produced the plans for me. Every single person would be back on Port Dock after the beautification and the development of that area.
Had I known there was an issue to be dealt with, I would not have allowed it to get to that. But they never told me of it. And when I heard about the demonstration, I invited them. And they came. We had about an hour meeting or so. And within that time, we were able to resolve the issues.
Lack of information apparently is what prompted the protest. As major redevelopment of the Port Dock continues, work is now at a phase that requires repairs to the Eastern Bridge, where the 10 fruit and vegetable vendors are located. The vendors must move in order for the work to be carried out. Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, the Honorable V. Alfred Gray, calls the entire incident unfortunate.
They have agreed with us to move to a certain location on the dock. I don't know where this thing about in their yard and all of that came from. Once the bridge is repaired, it is expected that the fruit vendors will go back to where they were. The food vendors will be affected only when these plans, which we will see, come into effect later this year. They understand that as the development progresses, 1 or 2 stalls will have to be closed at a time.
Vendors are not only getting all of the information they are requesting, but are pleased to know that they will be consulted on every aspect of the design project of the new stalls. Pointing out the improvements, Chief Architect at the Ministry of Works, Livingston Forbes, says the design is at the preliminary stage.
We are planning to redesign the marine vendors to accommodate somewhere between 50 to maybe in the mid-50s vendors. We hope to get at least 54, 55, 56 maybe, based on a constraint site. We're gonna intend to have some rather interesting spaces in terms of having people be able to sit and wine and dine and see the waterfront, enjoy the waterfront.
Once the design plan for the new stalls is completed and approved, which according to officials should take a few weeks, they say work will begin immediately. At the Port Dock, I'm Carla Palmer, ZNS Network News.
Hurricane reconstruction efforts continue as more building supplies have been shipped to the islands impacted by Joaquin. NEMA representatives were at the dock as supplies were loaded onto the HMBS Lawrence Major. Last week, NEMA's director, Captain Stephen Russell, traveled to those islands to finalize plans. Contracts were also awarded.
We signed those contracts. Now we're trying to get the first shipment of supplies into those islands, so the contractors during the course of the week ahead, they can start the process of reconstructing those homes.
Excellent. You also are partnering with the Defense Force, utilizing a new vessel. Talk to us about that.
Well, again, as a part of the Defense Force long-term program, disaster response is a part of their mandate. And they were able to acquire this vessel here, one of the newest acquisitions of the service, to support us in our recovery efforts.
Heading the effort on the Defense Force end was Lieutenant Commander Milton Monroe, who says he's taking a crew of 19 on the voyage that will take them first to San Salvador, followed by Long Island, ending in Crooked Island.
I believe they'll be very happy to reconstruct and repair the damages that were there, those homes that don't need extensive construction. I think they'll be very happy, and we are happy to carry out this role and bringing some relief to the people.